You're listening to Support Creative Souls podcast, highlighting and supporting inspiring creatives, plus a few shoe stories to help kick up your innovative journey. Hosted by me, Stephanie V. What's up, everybody? You are watching Support Creative Souls, another episode. We are here, Houston, Texas. I am so excited about today's show, as I'm always excited about every show that I do. And we have a super special guest, someone I've been wanting to have on the show for a while, but he is super busy, as we all are. And so, without further ado, we have the producer here, Steveo. What's up?
What's up, girl? Thanks for having me on the show. That was a high five hug.
I told him we had to sit close and we had to make it to each other.
I was chilling way back here, but yeah.
Steveo, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Why we should support you as a creative soul, and
well, we should create all creative. Support all creative souls. That's number one. But at the end of the day, I'm Steveo Valdez. I'm from Houston, Texas. I grew up as a musician, quickly started learning a little bit about production and writing at an early age. I met Frankie J when I was like 18 years old. He put me in the game. We got on tour. I was playing keys with him, and we did a bunch of tours. And then I met a bunch of people on that tour who were producers, and so that's when I started getting into the production and the writing stuff. And man, literally, I'm 18 years old.
I was gonna say, this is when you were pretty young.
Yeah, I'm 33 now. 33, so I'm still young.
And he just blasted out. Women will be like, yeah, I'm still 25.
No, I'm 33. I still think I'm young, all right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it started when I was 18, so I'm like, okay, I didn't know anything other than the music stuff and the production stuff, and it just starts taking off, and right away we had a song that we worked on with Happy Prez. Frankie J was Obsession, Baby Bash, and it just took off. It was like the number 2 song in the country, top 100, Hot 100, whatever you call that chart, Billboard's top 40. And that put us again back on tour. It gave us a platinum record. I was like 21, 22 years old with a platinum plaque. And everybody who was on that tour, we all got platinum plaques because, it takes a big team to make something like that happen. Shout out to Charles Chavez and Larry Young and all them. And
that's key to know for a lot of people that aren't in the music industry, don't know the music industry. It takes a whole team to make things happen. It's not like all of a sudden you record it. Well, nowadays, sometimes people are recording songs and it goes viral and it's a big hit. But it takes a lot of work to get to where you think people just automatically end up in the top 10. So.
Yeah, it does take a huge team. I will say that, like you were just saying a little earlier, that nowadays it does take a smaller team now.
Yeah.
Ultimately to get to that level, there's a huge team, but like nowadays you're seeing a bunch of people just blow up off of, social media like SoundCloud, Instagram, one little dance or one little the right hashtag or something, and you're taking off, and so that is kind of a cool thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, and speaking of that, like, I want to know, like, what does, and this might sound like a corny question or whatever, what does music mean to you? Like, that's in any which way, like, what does it mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, music to me was introduced to me in the style of worship, so, and I'm just kind of talking all across the board here. Since it's a broad question, like, the answer is, like, really I grew up in church, so it was taught to me to be emotional with it and to have meaning, and every note meant something, and so that was early for me, and then again, like I said, like when I was around 18 years old, it got a little more commercial for me. It became more about making money, about trying to sound a certain kind of way, trying to imitate what other people are doing, or just kind of like adjust and follow the trends.
Trying to figure out your unique sound.
And then that ultimately leads to that, which is, okay, first it's this, and then it becomes a business or a money thing for you, and then it ultimately leads to that, which is where I am now, 33 years old. I was just telling my friend, I feel like I'm a little late bloomer, but no, 33 years old, and it's about finding who I am, like the sound, what combining that beginning communication style of music with the trends and the business side of it, and really trying to combine arts and science and making something dope.
It's almost something like what I found through my music is purpose.
Right.
Whereas before, you know, we're recording songs and I like that sound and ooh, I'm up in the club and I'm getting down or shake that booty all night. And then all of a sudden, you know, after my grandma passed, I was like, you know, if I'm gonna do any more music, I wanna come back with like a purpose for my music. Like, why does somebody wanna listen to what I'm singing, or what is it about? And I think that's something that kind of like what you're saying, is that you now know like what sounds you want, what sounds you're doing, and what you like to produce that makes you feel good as well.
Yeah, it just, you got to do it so much that you get to a point where it becomes effortless. You know,
right.
They call it effortless mastery. I'm not saying I'm a master, but it's effortless mastery. Miles Davis says, learn all the rules and then break them.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't start off breaking the rules. You can't start off, like, you could, but you're just kind of shooting in the dark, you know. But at this point, it just becomes a form of communication but it comes from the side, and it still sounds commercial, and it still sounds, whatever that word might mean to you, commercial. You know,
right.
Some people think it's good, some people it's bad, but
something that you feel passionate about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with all of where you've gotten today, and that's with your sound, I know that you, and as many different artists, you know, we start out signing bad record deals. We work with really bad producers. We start out, you know, we have artists that really don't care, some people that aren't paying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are some things that you've had to deal with to get you where you are today?
Well, I've dealt with a lot of different kind of things, both good and bad. I will say a lot of it has been, most of it has been good.
And I should say that.
Yeah.
I left you with a bad taste, negative.
Right.
But what are some good things and bad things
Yeah.
that, you know, got you to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, early on, like I said, when I was on that tour, I was blessed enough to, first of all, be there, but number two, the people who were there were incredible. Like, it just happened to be the hottest dudes in the city, the hottest dudes
right.
in the state, and we took it to the hottest dudes in the country even, you know, but, you know, Happy Perez, number one, he was, you know, the biggest influencer that I had as a musician, as a producer. He produced Sugar Sugar, he did the Obsession song, he went on and did Miguel's Sure Thing. Number one, I sat under him for like 10 years and would go to his house every day till 4 or 5 in the morning, just watching and
yeah.
being a part of some of that stuff and working. All these, Miguel and all these people just stopped by. He had a garage studio in the back, really nice studios in the back. And we're just there all day. So that number one was like probably the biggest influence I had. And I mean, I think it's what separated me from all the other producers that were my age, because like, he's incredible, you know, so I was able to watch that, you know. Charles Chavez, watching him do the business stuff was crazy, you know, like a Mexican dude in Houston. Number one, that was like the first experience I had, but like even just looking hindsight, like, you don't see people making the moves he was making.
Yeah.
He was making some pretty big moves, so like being around that, like that's a lot of the good stuff. Like some of the bad stuff, it's, you know, it's everything everything you said, you know,
yeah.
People not paying up, people just not being professional. You know, we're in an artistic field of work, and so it's hard to be artsy, it's hard to be productive and creative, and then also be professional. Carry your calendar, have integrity, do what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of creative people, you don't want to really master the business side of it, but now that everybody's kind of taken into their creative work into their own hands and kind of set up all these different platforms, you know, I feel like it's so important, and it should be no matter what, to know the business side as far as like contracts and things that you're, you know, royalties, things like that, to know like you're not getting gypped, because somebody will gyp you real quick and not even turn around and look at you and be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
protection is one thing, you know, and it's a must. You gotta know what you're doing and what you're getting into and how to protect yourself. But even looking at the big picture, you know, we are the brand is us now, per person. You know, we are what we're promoting, and you will diversify how you make money and using all these other platforms, but you have to learn how to be a brand,
right.
Promote yourself, and that becomes like basically a business. And what sustains and grows a business is customer service and having the product and the channels to to just pass this product around and learning how to monetize everything. That is now what we have to do.
What is key. So if somebody wants to work with you, do you just say, oh, come by, do this, or where have you established yourself that you work out of, or if someone wants to work with you?
Man, I'm doing a bunch of stuff right now. I still produce, but I do it now under a few different companies and stuff like that. So we have the Office Studio, which is located in East Downtown. It's literally like 10 minutes from where we are.
Which is a really dope studio.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I've been there for maybe like a year and a half. I plan on being there a little bit longer.
And there's a story to you getting this studio too, which I know it's a longer story, but it's part of his trials and tribulations of finding.
Right. Oh yeah. So I forgot about that. So so before this studio,
you get lost in your stories.
Yeah. Well, no, you just gotta push forward, and you gotta just whatever. You learn to have thick skin. You just gotta move forward, right?
Right.
And so I was at this other spot, and it was a beautiful studio. It was further away from downtown, so it was a little far, but it was a good situation. The landlord was not cooperating, and we started a bunch of, without saying too much detail, a bunch of weird stuff started happening. And I basically came up to the dude, and I was like, look, man, I think it's time for me to be on the lease, and I was just kind of subletting, and I wanted to be on the lease, have a little bit more control of the spot. And he ultimately told me no. And the next day, I had a U-Haul truck and picked up everything, and I moved, and I didn't have nowhere to go. I ended up going to a good friend, Mannie Fresh. Plug right there.
Hey, plug on my show.
Right. No, Mannie
Support Creative Soul.
Yeah. Mannie Fresh is another mentor, my current mentor / business partner at this point. I mean, we've been working for 10 years.
Right. I see all y'all snaps.
Man, we're everywhere now. At this point, we've become business partners. We have a couple of deals on the table with like Splice and just record labels with Mass Appeal. We got a bunch of stuff going on. It's really, really exciting. But anyways, I was saying I ended up at Mannie Fresh's house as a temporary studio after I picked up all my stuff because I had nowhere to go, and it was hard because I had the business and I had clients coming in, and Mannie was never at home anyways, because he has 100 houses somewhere, and so I was able to use the house and for like 6 months, and then the studio landed in my lap. It was literally a friend I grew up with. He happened to own the building in East Downtown, and I signed a 3-year lease with him, and it's been dope because now it's my spot. I control it. I do what I want.
And I think that's key to people that are like creating their own business, whereas like you always see, and everybody says it's a cliche, but one door shut is another door open.
Yeah. And it was a blessing.
Yeah, and a lot of times the second door that opens for you is the right door.
Right.
You may think like you missed out on this opportunity that was like just great, and then that door shuts, and you're like, what am I gonna? Many of those doors shut on me too.
Yeah.
And then the second door opens, and you're like, well, I thank God the first door shut, because I'm in a better place. God was watching out for me, and I think that's in so many people's creative journeys that happens so many times, and that one door can shut, and you think you failed.
I would have been stuck in the north side, which nothing against the north side. I love the north side. I live in the north side. I used to live in the north side. But just business speaking, like commercial location is East Downtown versus way up by the airport.
Yeah.
And it hurt. It really did hurt at the moment. But now, like for me to have the whole second floor to a building and have multiple rooms now we have a big Studio A where we do a lot of the production. We have a Studio B. We have a media room where my boy Enrique and Raymond, they do their creative work there. They write, they produce, they're making films, they're editing, they're doing graphics. And we also have another 2 rooms that have become the school, which is the next thing that I'm doing. I have a school now called Houston Sound Academy.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah.
Is this show is about supporting creative souls, but it's also about following my feet and talking to the youth about
I saw that,
following their passion and creating something that they exactly what you're doing, Steve, exactly what other guests have been doing. And so tell us a little bit about the schools, so that way
Yeah, the school is like, it goes back to the roots of everything for me. I started playing in church, and I'm a musician first. And so we did notice that there was a lot of people trying to come into the game that no direction. People were saying, oh, it's oversaturated.
Yeah.
What's saturated if you're competing and You know,
trying to do what everyone else is
right, but at the same time, if you decide to be a help,
right.
and maybe open doors for some of the people that are underneath you, you know, it started that way. We were mentoring, me and my partner Robert Martinez were mentoring a few kids, and then it turned into a few more kids, and then a few more kids, and then it was like, whoa, like,
it really opens your eye to know that people, you know, kids, and especially kids, you know, Mexicanos and Latinos, that don't have that at home, you know, that someone can't give them that push or that extra encouragement to actually do something that they dream about doing, you know? And so...
Or they just don't know how.
Or they don't know how. And they don't know how, they don't know where to start, and how, you know, that I could never do that, you know? I think that's the mentality, is that could never be me. And it's great to see, that's why I love it's great to see people like you that is doing what they want to do, so they can say, okay, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know? So.
The school's cool, you know, and not only are we trying to help them, we're trying to make it cool too, you know, like we're combining the music and then pushing it forward and to the next step, which is writing, producing, distributing your music online to iTunes or Spotify. And a lot of this information is like taboo to these kids. They're not taboo, but they just don't know about it, you know.
Yeah.
It's a grand mystery, and they have no clue what to do. And where, like, for us, it's so easy, and we all know about it because we've been doing it for so long. So it's just like, you know, so we try to say, hey, look, you can play the piano, but we can also make a video. You can do it at home with your iPhone, and then you can just go to YouTube and upload it, and then you can start, you know, becoming a brand. And, you know, so we're like teaching the next generation. It's more than a music school.
Guerrilla marketing.
Right, we're teaching them how to do exactly what we've been talking about, which is become a brand.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, put it out there.
And I think, and that's some of the things that I do talk to about the youth is like, you know, it's about you and motivating yourself and what you want to do and how you want to do it. And first and foremost, figure out what you're passionate about. You know, I get all kinds, I'm passionate about money, I'm passionate about food. And, you know, all that's great, but, you know, how you going to make money to eat? How you going to make money? You know, it's all, there's more things to it. So, so, you know, here on Creative Souls, we talk about what's your go-to shoe. Last one, I had some little black. I always show my shoe that I'm wearing. These are just some little black, you know, they're, you know, cute little things. So, let's talk about what you got as your shoe right here.
Look, here's the deal.
Is this your go-to shoe?
It is. I'm not even shy. Look, I'm gonna just do the same thing. It's not gonna look as good as hers.
Steveo got on the chancla, but the key to this chancla is that it's Nike. Okay?
It's Nike. Look,
Nike
I'm gonna tell you why it's my go-to shoe. I'm not gonna lie. I have this huge box, and I say box because I don't like the little boxes. I throw away the little boxes and I throw everything in the one big box, and it's a whole bunch of cool stuff. Like, man, I used to go out and do the J's and I had Gucci foam posits, and I got a whole bunch of cool stuff like the All-Star joints. You know, I got all that stuff. But it's just, you know, it's not as comfortable. It almost looks like I'm trying to have a cool shoe on. Yeah, so you know what? I was like, usually what I do is I'll grab one of those cool shoes and I wear them every day. Wear them every day until they're just disgusting. Then I throw that one away and then I grab a new one out of the box. And then I'll still buy some. Lately, I'm not gonna lie.
You've been wearing the chanclas.
Every day, airport. Listen, when you hang out with Mannie Fresh, you can wear this in the club. It's cool. They ain't tripping. When you hang out with Mannie Fresh, I'm not gonna lie. I've never tried to do this by myself, but when I hang out with Mannie Fresh,
you wouldn't be getting in by yourself.
It's shorts and it's chanclas and it's all good behind the DJ booth with a drink.
No shame in that. I'm always wearing you look in my car, I got me a pair of chanclas. Don't let these heels fool you. I'm always wearing
you're
some.
Bougie, you know.
I got some cute little toes. So follow my feet. Yeah. Anyway, so our last question is, what would you tell, I always mess it up, but what would you, in fact, let me just read it.
Yeah, go ahead, let's read that.
Because I've been like messing it up, you know. So it is, what would you tell a young creative who is currently where you were 5 years ago? What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Dude, 5 years ago was that number exactly was a moment in my life, which was my all-time low moment.
Right.
For a bunch of personal reasons. I was going through a divorce. I was broke. I was a very talented person who I did a bunch of cool stuff in the beginning and wasted all my resources, wasted all my money, was cocky, did a bunch of whatever stuff. You know, like success can sometimes get in the way.
Sure.
You know, and life and God had to show me that I needed to chill and I needed to do something different.
Well, I think because you started in the music industry, a lot of people don't
Very
start
quick,
where
very
you start.
high.
It takes
Yeah.
a lot of people to get here
Yeah.
in the music industry, and for you, you were like, "Whoo, I'm here, everybody," you know.
Happy and Charles and everybody used to say like, dude, you don't even know, you
Yeah.
skipped 10 years in the game. I never knew what that meant. I was just like, whatever, dude, I'm just really good on the piano.
Right.
You know, like, whatever, you know, I didn't know what that meant. And when all of that kind of ended, that situation that we're all in, and it just, you know, and like I said, you spend all your money and a lot of stuff happens, like, you really have a lot of time. You have no choice, but you have a lot of time to reflect and think about, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? How can I really make a living off of this? Man, there was a point in time right before that where, and not a lot of people know this, like I went back to school and I was trying to like do something in the medical field and stuff, you know, because I was like, screw music, I did it. I already did it, you know what I mean? Like
It's that point in your career where you gotta take that step back and reflect. You know?
Right.
Get it
so
together.
for a second I was like getting away from it, but I did realize this, and this is part of the advice. I realized that if you really have that passion and that thing's really inside of you, you have to follow it, because if you try to do something else, it's gonna call you back. You're gonna be this split decision kind of dude, and I feel like you'll just have a lot of regret one day when you're laying in that bed, maybe. I don't know, you know. And so I will say that moment really made me maybe go back to the essentials, which for me was I literally grabbed, it started with a notebook and a pen. And every day I would grab that notebook and pen, and I wouldn't call it a journal because that sounds kind of corny, you know, but I started just writing facts. This is who I am, this is how old I am, this is where I wanted to be, this is not where I am, this is what's happening, this is how much money I got in the bank, this is how much I'm gonna have after I pay these bills, this is how broke you are, and this is how much money I need to make. It started with stupid stuff like that, and it ultimately led to like, okay, I have a business, you know, I have a product, I make beats, I do music, this is how I can package this, this is how I can start to sell it. I started Googling business, what is a business model, I started plugging in the stuff, I started holding myself accountable, I started keeping a calendar, I started being a man of my word, and I just started doing that every day, and it sucked, you know, it sucked. And I was always waiting my entire life, especially because I had this ultimate shot. I was waiting for somebody to really just see that I was that dude so that they can give me this opportunity. And I realized that that opportunity was never going to be given to me, or it already had been given to me, and I royally blew it up because I didn't understand how to manage that responsibility. In order to be a badass, you have to do a lot of dumb shit that nobody wants to do. And it's wake up early, and it's write everything down, and it's follow your calendar, and have goals, and execute it like a motherfucker. And it's hard to do that.
And that is what I tell, minus his cursing.
Sorry, you can bleep those out, I'm sorry. Can I cuss?
Yeah,
all late?
It's fine.
I was like, all late?
I mean, that is what I do tell the youth though, is that you've got to be organized. You've got to be organized. And like that was main key for me too, living in New York. I have about 100 notebooks of the same thing. 20 things that I was gonna do in the week. 20 things that I was gonna do in the next 2 weeks. Check. To go back and to see that I could check off these things was like, nobody could tell me that I wasn't accomplishing something. It may have been where I could get 2 pieces of pizza this week instead of 1 slice because I had an extra $5. But that was a check. So that is something that I tell the youth too. Like you really got to stay organized. You know, get that book, write out what you want to do, write out where you want to be. I mean, it may just be ridiculous that you want to be able to, you know, buy a car. You want to be, but make that list and stay organized, because that's really what's going to further your career, just further your passion and further your dream. And like you said, you know, it may be corny or whatever.
It sounds corny. It does sound corny, or it sounds like, nah, you know, I know a lot of people might be thinking like, I'm really good, like, so, you know, when you know, I don't need to do that, or that was for you, but I'm gonna make it overnight. And the millennials these days think that it's gonna happen quickly and they don't have to do anything, but it's not like that. And I do encourage everybody to write everything down, but even furthermore, go back and it might seem really difficult or hard, like you just really don't have any answers, but write down a step-by-step process on how you're going to execute that.
Yes.
You know, even if it's wrong, it's better to have a plan and fail than to not have a plan at all and just kind of wait for it to happen, you know? So it's like, write down step 1, and that will lead me to step 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then ultimately say, by the time I finish these steps, I will have accomplished this. And I guarantee you, you won't fail. You will accomplish those steps and you will conquer that. And things that seem impossible, if you write out the steps and then follow those steps, it's that simple. And it's so simple that it goes over everyone's head.
Yeah.
But if you just do that, it happens.
And I preach that to a lot of people all the time. Once you can see it on paper, you can start living it. You can start thinking about it. And it can be the impossible.
And if you don't have the resources to do those steps, you'll at least find those.
Yeah, and that's another thing you can figure out. You can figure out who has the resources to do those steps. Who can help me get to where I need to be.
Yep.
Steveo, thank you so much for being on the show today. You have really put some light, maybe lit some fire underneath some people who really don't know where to start or how to get started.
I hope so.
If you wanted to learn more about the music industry, or you're at home and you write songs and you do music, look him up. We'll have all his information. Actually, here you go. Go ahead and plug yourself right now.
Steveo Valdez at Steve, regular, Steveo Valdez, Valdez, and that's Instagram. That is Twitter. I don't even know if I use Twitter. Instagram, and on YouTube, you can check me out on that too. The school is Houston Sound Academy. That's HoustonSoundAcademy.com. Sign up for a free lesson. You get a free lesson. We kind of check you out. We give you a free 30-minute thing, and then we'll sit down, tell you all about what we got going on. You can check out the studio, check out the rooms. Check out the studio. I already said that. Check out the Studio A, Studio B is what I meant to say. But, that's HoustonSoundAcademy.com. Again, I'm Steveo Valdez, the studio's office studio. And it's in East Downtown. You already know.
We want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, which is my own company, Comida Caliente Salsa, and Fragrances of Wine. Check them out online, fragranceofwine.com, and Comida Caliente is on Instagram. Once again, thank you for joining us on Support Creative Souls. We are on Instagram at Support Creative Souls. We are on Facebook, so you will see these episodes on Facebook, and we're also on YouTube. Check them out. Once again, thank you. Besos. Peace.
That's all for Support Creative Souls podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for next time and make sure and follow us on social media at Support Creative Souls.